I want to two ha'aras really two ha'aras. One is probably very simple. One is a drop deeper. So let's start. We'll keep the simple one for a second. We know that the order. Now we know. Open the Torah and you'll see the order of the kelim as it's listed is very unique. And actually there's a brisker Torah over here for the briskers amongst us. The Grizel Torah has a shtickle Torah over there in which he asks, why is the Shulchan before the Menorah? Good question. Menorah is the Torah. Shulchan is Parnasa. So why is the Shulchan written before the Menorah? The Brisker Rav's Kasha. And the Brisker Rav quotes Rav Chaim. And a Rav Chaim type of diak says, if you look in the Torah and it says, what is the placement of the Menorah? The placement of the Menorah says the pasuk is El Mol Pinei HaShulchan. Says Rav Chaim, the Menorah didn't have a place unto itself. The placement of the Menorah was opposite the Shulchan. Wherever the Shulchan was, the Menorah was opposite. And therefore, the Torah had to write the Shulchan first, because you wouldn't know where the Menorah goes. Just a humorous story to understand what does it mean you don't have a place unto yourself, only in relation. I was by a Rav Asher the last time. They switched around the room. Give shir in a dining room, about 600 people, seats, 600 seats, another 150 people, crammed in between the aisles up the stairs, and a few hundreds more listening on the radio and on recordings, etc., etc. And, getting a seat is, worth $1 million, which is, difficult. You have to be there for many years. But one of the Zmanim I was there, in the middle of the Zman, they turned the whole room. Basically, it used to be a dining room. They made it no longer a dining room. They made it into a beis medrash. So overnight, the room was turned, and there were no more. Well, more importantly, there were no more tables. Used to be there were long tables, and he would say, if this was the room, he would be over there, and there were long tables down like a dining room. And then they made it into beis medrash, so the tables disappeared. So us smart Americans thought, okay, great, we'll finally get a seat. What are we going to do? Shir starts at 6 o'clock. Show up 20 minutes early. You take a chair and you plop it down where you want to sit. Givaldic. So show up at 5:40. There's a handful of people milling around. We're all so excited. So I take a chair and I put it down. And, I thought it would be strategic to have a pillar behind me, because then they can't push you back because there's a pillar behind you. I thought it was a great idea. And I'm sitting there, and Rav Asher would have been, literally smack in front. Beautiful. And the people start coming in, and a wonderful older Israeli comes over, he turns to me and he says, Zahamakom Shali, this is my place. I start laughing. It's your place. What do you mean it's your place? There's no place. There's no tables, there's no nothing. What do you mean place? So I started laughing. He said, look, Zahamakom Shali. I was like, what do you mean? He says, Kol Zaman Sha'amud Po Anikan. If the pillar's there, I'm in front of the pillar. My seat. If you look at the chart, I sat on the seat right in front of the pillar. So, you know what? He had a good time. He's right. I said, okay, no problem. And we moved over. That was the Menorah and the Shulchan. The Menorah didn't have a place. The Menorah, says Rav Chaim, was opposite the Shulchan. Wherever the Shulchan was, so the Torah, by default, had to write the Shulchan first. That's the pshat of Rav Chaim that the Brisker Rav quotes. Now, the Teruma Sadeshin actually asked this question, and he says an interesting teretz. Sully Bornstein, I give Karas a Taiv to. This was one of his shtickl Torah, Meir Dik shtickl Torah. The Teruma Sadeshin says a different pshat. Maybe not such a pshat that people like to repeat, but it's the MS. Emein kamach, ain't Torah. It's nice to say Torah is number one, and it is. But guess what? If you don't have any food, you're not going to have any Torah. Says the Teruma Sadeshin, none less. That therefore, what comes first? The Shulchan, and then the Menorah. But the Chassam Sofer La Torah says, Teruma Sadeshin, there's a problem. What does the Torah write even before the Shulchan? You're telling me the Shulchan, which is the Parnasa, comes first. But 1 second, you know what came first before all that? The Aron. And the Aron is Torah. So what are you busy telling me? That first comes the Parnasa, and then comes the Menorah. What do you mean? But the Aron came first. Says the Chassam Sofer something absolutely beautiful, which I think could, really bring it home. Says the Chassam Sofer, there's a part of Torah that is not negotiable. There's a part of Torah that even in Ein Kamach, there still has to be some level of Torah. And that's the kaviyas itim that each and every person is obligated. That is, after 120, when we come up to Shemayim, and when we come in front of the Bezdin Hagadol, they're going to ask them, Kavata itim b'Torah, did you learn? Did you have a kaviyas each and every day? That, says the Chassam Sofer, is even if you don't have money. Says the Torah, beautiful. First Aron, that's the kaviyas in Torah. Then's the Parnasa. And then is the Menorah, which is all the Gishmak in Torah. And the Menorah had the Prachim, had the flowers, had all the beauty of Torah. That's all the other aspects of Torah. But teaches us the Chassam Sofer that yes, we need to have the Parnasa to have the Torah. But maybe there's something deeper we have to remind ourselves. That is a part in Torah that is not negotiable. And I don't know if the Chassam Sofer brings this or surely brought this. It's a Rambam, a very famous Rambam, an empowering Rambam. I'll add on that the Rambam in Hilchos Talmud Torah, I think it's Parak Aleph, Halacha Ches, I think, the Rambam says, who's chayiv to learn Torah? Who's chayiv? Says the Rambam, afilu ashir, you have money. Afilu ani, you don't have money. Whether you have yisurim, whether you have terrible things going on in your life, or whether you have health, whether you have children, or whether you don't have children. And he continues the list of all the people. You know what the top of the list is? Afilu, the top of the list, the highest level. So he started off, we already heard the poor guy, we already heard the guy that has yisurim, has physical issues. So what's the highest level? Baal Isha Banim. Someone who has a wife and kids, even he has to learn. What's the Rambam teaching us? That yes, life is busy. Yes, there's lots of difficulties. And yes, you have obligations. You have a wife, you have to take care of her. You have children, you have to take care of them. Yes, you have to make sure there's bread on the table. Yes, you got to make sure the kids are happy. But teaches the Rambam, there's a part in Torah which is not negotiable. Now, that part in Torah doesn't have to be 7 hours a day. It could be moments, it could be minutes, but it's the focus, it's the mindset. To go back to what we just heard a moment ago, the Yahalom, the diamond that we have, the Ruchnius that we have, there's a part of it which is not negotiable.